welcome everyone. It's once again time for Actual English, and I am Jennifer Clyde. Now it's time for lesson 37, and today's topic is sports and club activities. For those of you that tuned in, of course, for our previous lesson, I did mention that today's lesson is not necessarily only going to be focused on sports, neither on club activities only. We'll talk about sports and club activities in general. So what kinds of sports do you enjoy? What kind of sports have you learned or played in the past? What about club activities? I think often in university, in college, or even after you graduate at a workplace, you can join a group or a club and enjoy certain activities. We can talk about that today as well. Okay, then are you ready? Let's get started.
Are you a sportive kind of person?
Do I look like a sporty person to you, Peter?
I don't know.
Coming from Australia, I used to be. I was forced to be a sporty type of person.
Okay.
I don't think
they like to do a lot of outdoor activities there, right?
Very much so. All throughout high school, you had to do sport. It was a compulsory subject.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I know. I realized it after I graduated that was actually a good thing.
But did you skip class a lot?
No, I didn't. But what I did was during soccer matches, I'd run away from the ball rather than chasing after the ball.
Okay.
And during the exams, what I did was I offered to be the goalkeeper because no one wanted to be, to sort of lift my grades up a little bit.
I see. Okay.
So do you do sports?
Yeah, everything.
Everything? Like what?
Oh, when I was a kid, I loved every sport. Anything you could do, I did. But I think I like the individual sports the most. I was...
Like tennis? Badminton?
Running, biking, swimming.
Oh.
When I was very young, I was a wrestler.
Oh.
And I did 9 years of wrestling. I did 4 years of taekwondo.
That's interesting.
And then later I got into running and started doing triathlons after that. Some rock climbing, etc.
Oh, I love rock climbing.
Rock climbing's so much fun.
Is there any way to rock climb here?
Yeah, there's some great rock climbing in Korea.
Indoors or outdoors?
There are some indoor climbing gyms, but they're mostly just bouldering gyms.
Ah, interesting.
And there's outdoor walls like along the river now, all over the place.
Back home in Australia, I did a lot of tennis. But here, because the space is limited, I think there are a lot more badminton courts. So I took up badminton, and recently I took up cycling, which is actually quite nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I love biking.
I was not a very good cycler. I could not
Cyclist.
Cyclist? I could not balance on the two wheels very well. I needed training wheels, but I've taken those training wheels off now.
Okay. I ride my bicycle to ride my bicycle.
Yes.
Now, today's actual talk conversation was a bit longer than usual. I guess there's more to talk about, especially, yes, with topics like today's, sports and club activities. Now, these two, of course, Peter and Joanne, seem to be very active people. They love to engage in sports, play all different kinds of sports. As for me, when I was in elementary school, I played softball, not exactly baseball, but I was actually on a softball team. The name of the team was the Spartans. I had to wear a white and green uniform. Anyhow, and then when I went on to middle and high school, I was a part of the school volleyball team. So I was quite an athletic student in school as well. I do enjoy sports till this day, so think about the kinds of sports you enjoy while we take a look at today's actual talk. All right, they did mention lots about sports, so let's first of all begin with a question. Now, Peter said, are you a sportive kind of person? You've heard of sporty. We'll be taking a look at that word later on, but sportive, I-V-E, that follows the word sport. Sportive. Now this word is, it means pertaining to sports or pertaining to the nature of sports. So it's related to sports, okay? Are you a sportive person? Are you a sportive kind of person? Simply put, do you like sports? Okay. Now, Joanne says, do I look like a sporty person to you? She throws a question right back at Peter. Now, this is another word, a sport with a Y. A sporty person could be a person that enjoys sports, sport activities, or is really good in sports. So she says, do I look like a sporty person? And then she answers by saying, coming from Australia, I used to be. So maybe not so much right now. But as we can see, I used to be means in the past, yes, I was a sporty person. I was forced to be a sporty type of person. Now, to be forced to do something or forced to be something, in most cases, it's not because you want to do it, you're not really willing to do it, but you choose to do something because you have no other choice. Maybe your parents kind of push you to do something, or they force you to do something, so you end up doing it, okay? So she says, since or coming from Australia, I used to be, but I was forced to be a sporty type of person. She wasn't exactly a sporty type of person, but, well, living in Australia, the environment made her a kind of sporty person. Now, Peter says, aha, I think I know what you mean. He says, they like to do a lot of outdoor activities there, right? Now, they meaning who? They meaning people in Australia, okay? So, they like to do a lot of outdoor activities there, right? They're meaning in Australia. And then Joanne says, very much so. Definitely, absolutely. You are completely right. All throughout high school, meaning in every single grade in high school, you had to do a sport. Now, you may be confused. Wait, Peter and Joanne are talking about themselves, but why did Joanne say you? Yeah, if you're confused, don't be confused. In cases like this, the you refers to just people in general, okay? Not just you, not just other people, but you and others, just people in general. So all throughout high school, you had to do a sport. I had to do a sport, and all the other students had to do a sport. It was a compulsory subject, okay? A compulsory subject. You can take a course, you can take a class. There are also different subjects that you have to learn or take in school. But if you say it is a compulsory subject, it is mandatory. It's a must. You have to take that class. So she had no choice but to, of course, be sportive, active, take sports or do a sport. Now, Peter says, that's good. And then Joanne says, I know. I realized it after I graduated. Okay, let's take a look at it here. I realized it. It meaning that doing a sport is good. But when? After I graduated. That was actually a good thing. Now, this is something she mentioned, but she says, back then, when I was in high school, I didn't really enjoy doing a sport, but now I realize. Now, after I graduated, I realized, I guess it was a good thing. Now, Peter says right here, did you skip classes a lot? Skip classes. You can skip a meal. You can skip a class or skip classes. In this case, if you skip a class or skip classes, it means to not go to class. What did Joanne say? She said, no, I didn't. Meaning, no, I went to every class. I attended every class. I didn't skip classes. Now, she says, during the exams, I offered to be the goalkeeper. If you offer to do something, you're saying, hey, I'm willing to do it. I will do it. So during the exams, she said, can I be the goalkeeper? She offered to be the goalkeeper because no one wanted to be a goalkeeper. And then she says why. Her reason was to lift my grades up a little bit. To lift something up means to bring it up, to elevate it, right? To bring it to a higher level. And she's talking about her grades. So she's saying, well, I offered to be the goalkeeper because I wanted to get better grades. I wanted to lift my grades up a little. So, do you do sports? She asks. Peter said, yeah, everything. And she says, everything? Okay, like what? Peter said, when I was a kid, okay, taking us back to the past, when I was little, when I was a kid, I loved every sport. Anything you could do, he says, anything or everything you could do, I did. But I like individual sports the most. He's talking about his most favorite kind of sport. Now, so Joanne is not quite sure what Peter means by individual sports. If you're wondering, you can take a look. So Joanne says, okay, individual sports like tennis and badminton. Peter says running, biking, swimming. Individual sports are the kinds of sports you can do on your own and not necessarily as a team. And then he says, when I was very young, I was a wrestler. And then he says, and I did 9 years of wrestling, and I did 4 years of taekwondo. And Joanne says, that's interesting. Now, take note that so far in today's actual talk, we saw a lot of do sports. Do you do any sports? Did you do any sports? I had to do a lot of sports. So you can take it into the past and say, I did 9 years of wrestling. I did wrestling. I did taekwondo, okay? We'll take a look at these two patterns later on, okay? We'll practice that together. And then moving on, Peter says, and then later, okay, later on, when I got older, I got into running. Get into something means to gain interest, okay? Really, really immerse in something. So I got into running and started doing triathlons. After that, some rock climbing, and etc. So he's mentioning just a few of the activities he's enjoyed. There's running, right? And also triathlons, and he even did some rock climbing as well, something I'm interested in. Anyhow, Joanne even says, I love rock climbing. And then Peter says, rock climbing's so much fun, okay? It is so much fun. Joanne wonders, is there anywhere to rock climb here? Is there anywhere to rock climb here? Now, Peter gives her information, right? He says, there's some indoor climbing gyms. So you can call these places indoor climbing gyms. A gym is short for gymnasium. People often go to gyms to work out, to exercise, to do weights or lift weights, but these places where you can actually rock climb indoors could be called an indoor climbing gym or indoor climbing gyms. And he says, but they're mostly just bouldering gyms. Let's take a look at this. It's also a type of gym, a place you can exercise or engage in a sports activity, but the word here is bouldering. Boulder itself, here, okay, B-O-U-L-D-E-R. It's also spelled with a B-O-W-L-E-R, but boulder itself are little rocks. Not little, but they're rather large rocks that actually stick out. So if you go to these, indoor climbing gyms, you'll see walls with rocks that stick out. The rocks you can cling onto or hang onto. They are called boulders. So for those that want to rock climb indoors or practice rock climbing, you can go to a bouldering gym or bouldering gyms. So he says, yeah, there are places to rock climb, such as indoor climbing gyms and also bouldering gyms. And there are outdoor walls along the river. Along the river, basically, yes, alongside or next to the river. And he says now all over the place. So the point is there are plenty of places you can go to, indoors and outdoors, to enjoy rock climbing, okay? And then let's move on. Back home in Australia, Joanne says, back home in Australia, not her house here, but she's talking about Australia. I did a lot of tennis, but here, because the space is limited, meaning there is not enough space, I think there are a lot more badminton courts. That's true. I do see a few tennis courts here and there, but there are more badminton courts right here and there. So she's saying, back in Australia, I used to do tennis, but it's hard to play tennis here because the space is limited. You'll find more badminton courts in Korea, for instance. Now, they talk about badminton and also something about bicycles or cycling, right? Now, Joanne says, so I took up badminton. Take up means what? To begin an activity, right? I took up badminton, and recently I took up cycling, which is actually quite nice, cycling. And then Peter says, oh good, I love biking. So you can call it biking or cycling as well. Cycling kind of sounds more professional, right? So if you want to say you cycle professionally, for example, or if you're really, really good, you're a part of a certain cycling club, you can say I cycle, I took up cycling, or just generally you can say, well, I love biking, I took up biking as well. And then Joanne says, I was not a very good cycler. Now, what does Peter say though? Cyclist, he says. Joanne says, I was not a very good cycler, and then Peter all of a sudden says, cyclist. Well, actually, cyclist is probably more commonly used, but cycler is not incorrect. You can either say cycler or cyclist, but take note that cyclist is a bit more common. You'll hear that word more often than cycler. Anyhow, Joanne says cyclist. I could not balance on the two wheels very well. So I needed training wheels, but I've taken those training wheels off now. So a bicycle is what? It is a cycle with two wheels. Bi stands for two. So a bicycle with three wheels would be a tricycle. Tri meaning three. Usually little boys and little girls, little kids start riding tricycles. But for those bikes with two wheels, they're bicycles. If you start learning or when you start to bike, you will have those training wheels on the sides. So that's exactly what Joanne is saying. I could not balance on the two wheels very well, so I needed help. I needed training wheels. But I've taken those training wheels off, meaning I don't have those training wheels anymore. I can just balance on the two wheels. So now she can balance on the two wheels quite well. Okay, biking is difficult. I think when it comes to any sport, it's always good to learn at a younger age. It's difficult to learn when you get older. Anyhow, here's the actual talk conversation one more time.
Are you a sportive kind of person?
Do I look like a sporty person to you, Peter?
I don't know.
Coming from Australia, I used to be. I was forced to be a sporty type of person.
Okay.
I don't think
they like to do a lot of outdoor activities there, right?
Very much so. All throughout high school, you had to do sport. It was a compulsory subject.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I know. I realized it after I graduated that was actually a good thing.
But did you skip class a lot?
No, I didn't. But what I did was during soccer matches, I'd run away from the ball rather than chasing after the ball.
Okay.
And during the exams, what I did was I offered to be the goalkeeper because no one wanted to be, to sort of lift my grades up a little bit.
I see. Okay.
So do you do sports?
Oh, yeah, everything.
Everything? Like what?
Oh, when I was a kid, I loved every sport. Anything you could do, I did. But I think I like the individual sports the most. I was
Like tennis, badminton.
Running, biking, swimming.
Oh.
When I was very young, I was a wrestler.
Oh.
And I did 9 years of wrestling, and I did 4 years of taekwondo.
That's interesting.
And then later I got into running and started doing triathlons after that. Some rock climbing, etc.
Oh, I love rock climbing.
Rock climbing's so much fun.
Is there any way to rock climb here?
Yeah, there's some
mean
great rock climbing in Korea.
Indoors or outdoors?
There are some indoor climbing gyms, but they're mostly just bouldering gyms.
Ah, interesting.
And there's outdoor walls like along the river now, all over the place.
Back home in Australia, I did a lot of tennis. But here, because the space is limited, I think there are a lot more badminton courts. So I took up badminton, and recently I took up cycling, which is actually quite nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I love biking.
I was not a very good cycler. I could not
Cyclist.
balance cyclist. I could not balance on the two wheels very well. I needed training wheels, but I've taken those training wheels off now.
Okay. I ride my bicycle to ride my bicycle.
Yes.
Are you now ready for some vocab and patterns? Let's take a look at today's actual expressions. We've got sportive, forced to be, and also compulsory. Now, sportive, as I mentioned, is very similar to sporty, pertaining to the nature of sports, right? So sportive, that's the pronunciation. Now, there's also this definition. Sportive can also mean very lively and festive, so just keep that in mind. Now, forced to be, you can say, I was forced to be so-and-so. But when you pronounce this, try to pronounce it as maybe one or two words, okay, with a natural flow. Instead of forced to be, try to say forced to be, forced to be. So you will not hear the ED there, okay? Forced to be, forced to be. One more time. I was forced to be so-and-so. Good. And we have compulsory. This is a difficult word, so keep it in mind. The pronunciation, the stress goes right here, so it's compulsory. Compulsory. As I mentioned, it means mandatory, also obligatory. It means you have to do it. It's a must. Here are some patterns. We've got 3 for you today. I did so-and-so, a verb plus ing. Now add the time duration for how long you did something. You can also say, I did so-and-so for how long, and in the noun form. Verb plus the ing or the noun form. Let's take a look at a sentence. The first one is, I did 6 months of rock climbing. Okay, you did, you're talking about the past. I did 6 months of rock climbing. One more time. I did 6 months of rock climbing. What about this one? I did 8 years of ballet. I did 8 years of ballet. Okay, keep that pattern in mind and make use of it. Our next pattern is then later. Then later, I got into verb ing form, or you can also add a noun there. A sample sentence is, then later, I got into writing poetry. Later, I got into poetry. Then later, I got into writing poetry. Then later, I got into volleyball. So that would be the noun form, of course, and that would be the verb plus the ing, right? Okay. I guess also in this sentence, you can say, then later I got into poetry. You can also say that. Okay. Here is our final pattern. This was a question Joanne asked Peter, right? Is there anywhere to rock climb? Now, is there anywhere to do something would be an example. So, is there anywhere to cycle? It's quite easy. It's a simple pattern. What about this one? Is there anywhere to weight train? So, if you want to ask about a certain activity and where you can actually engage in that activity or enjoy that activity, remember this pattern. Is there anywhere to do something? Is there anywhere to weight train? Is there anywhere to cycle? Okay, job well done, everyone. That is a wrap for today's actual expressions.
Club activities. I'm part of this club called Emmaus Campus Ministry on our college campus, and it's actually a Christian English-speaking campus ministry in Yonsei, and I'm a big part of that. I really enjoy the community and everyone that I'm a part of. Yeah, it's a really good environment. I really feel very safe, very protected in that environment, and I just get to learn about people from all over the world, and I learn about God, and so that's a lot of fun. Another club activity that I wish I could be a part of, I really don't have time because of school, is soccer. I really loved playing soccer when I was a kid, and it's been like 8 years since I last played, but I really do enjoy it. I enjoy sports in general. I like volleyball, basketball, badminton, anything like that. And so, yeah, I wish if I could play more sports, I would, but that's all I've got. So, yeah.
Thank you, Emma, for sharing. Let's take you straight to our actual story today. She's mentioned lots about club activities. And here we go with the first sentence. She said that she is part of a certain club. I'm part of this club called Emmaus Campus Ministry on our college campus. You can simply say, I'm a part of a club called Emmaus Campus Ministry, but she's giving us more information. So, I'm part of this club called so-and-so. If it's on campus, you can say on my school campus or on our college campus. Now, Emmaus, if you're just wondering, is a name of a city in East Pennsylvania. Okay, Emmaus, and here we go. A club activity that I wish I could be a part of is soccer. Yeah. So this obviously, you can tell that she is not taking part in any, club activities that's related to soccer, but she says a club activity that I wish I could be a part of is soccer. So that's something you could mention if there is something you are interested in. And we have one final sentence. Now, I could play more sports, I would. Now she's saying if she had the opportunity, if she could. So if I could play more sports, I would. Basically saying if I had the opportunity, if I had the time, if I had the energy, if I had whatever, I would. Okay, well, I hope you do find the time and the opportunity to actually engage in more sports, Emma. Thank you very much, and that's a wrap.
Club activities. I'm part of this club called Emmaus Campus Ministry on our college campus, and it's actually a Christian English-speaking campus ministry in Yonsei, and I'm a big part of that. I really enjoy the community and everyone that I'm a part of. Yeah, it's a really good environment. I really feel very safe, very protected in that environment, and I just get to learn about people from all over the world, and I learn about God, and so that's a lot of fun. Another club activity that I wish I could be a part of, I really don't have time because of school, is soccer. I really loved playing soccer when I was a kid, and it's been like 8 years since I last played, but I really do enjoy it. I enjoy sports in general. I like volleyball, basketball, badminton, anything like that. And so, yeah, I wish if I could play more sports, I would, but that's all I've got. So, yeah.
Okay, everyone, that is a wrap for today's lesson, but quickly, I do want to correct the name. I do want to thank Marie for a wonderful actual story today. Now, when it comes to engaging in sports or taking part in club activities, I think it's a wonderful thing. There are tons and tons of things to talk about. It's always great to be active, right? Active in life. It gives you more energy, and I think it helps people to think more positively as well. And you won't be lonely. You can engage in individual sports, right? Or even group sports. So try doing that in the future. Now, next time, I'll be joining you with a calmer topic, I guess. Compared to today's topic, it's a lot calmer because we'll talk about things you can relax with, such as music and books. So get ready for that. Please find your way over to our homepage. Come by to say hello or even post up some questions and comments. Come to www.ebse.co.kr and just search for Actual English. That is all for today, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you again very soon. Bye.